I reach for you in the morning, but your memory, nothing more.
The acoustics in the SeaTac International Airport weren't great. Too much ambient noise, announcements constantly interrupting, the shuffle of thousands of travelers moving through the terminal like a human river. But I'd been playing here twice a week for 3 years, and I'd learned to make it work, to find the pockets of quiet, the moments between flight calls when people actually stopped to listen. This was my last performance, my last live music at SeaTac slot, before I boarded a plane to London, and a life I'd only dreamed about, a record deal, a real recording studio, the chance to actually make a living from my music instead of cobbling together gigs at airports and coffee shops and the occasional wedding. I should have been ecstatic. Instead, I felt hollow. "This next song," I said into the microphone, my voice echoing slightly through the terminal, "is called Phantom Limbs. And I wrote it about losing something so fundamental to who you are that you can still feel it even after it's gone, like an amputee feeling their missing arm." I didn't say what I'd really lost, didn't mention Harper by name, but anyone who'd followed my music over the past 2 years knew. Every song I'd written since she left had been about her. Even the happy ones, especially the happy ones, carried the ghost of what we'd been. My fingers found the opening chords. I'd played this song hundreds of times, but tonight it felt different, final. Like I was saying goodbye not just to Seattle, but to the version of myself who'd spent 2 years writing songs about a woman who chose safety over love. I reach for you in the morning, but you're a memory, nothing more. A phantom limb that aches and burns. Long after you walked out the door, the crowd was larger than usual. Maybe 50 people had stopped to listen, standing with their luggage, sitting on the edges of planters, leaning against walls. I recognized some of the regulars who'd watched me play over the years. Maria, the TSA agent who always requested Wildfire. James, the janitor who'd been my first real fan here. Even my friend and sound tech, Danny, was here, though he was supposed to be on shift. But halfway through the second verse, I saw a face that made my fingers stumble on the strings, made my voice catch mid-word. Harper. She stood at the back of the crowd, mostly hidden behind a family with 3 kids, but I'd have recognized her anywhere. 5'4", curly red hair always escaping whatever style she tried to contain it in, freckles across her nose that I used to kiss one by one. She wore jeans and a green sweater that I'd bought her for Christmas 3 years ago, back when we were still we, and she was crying. Not quiet tears, sobbing tears that she was trying and failing to hide behind her hands. I almost stopped playing, almost walked off the small stage, and demanded to know what the hell she was doing here after 2 years of silence, after she'd chosen her parents' approval and a straight passing life over our relationship, after she'd broken my heart so thoroughly I'd written an entire album about the wreckage. But I was a professional, damn it. I'd learned to compartmentalize, to keep playing even when everything inside me was screaming. So I finished the song, though my voice shook on the final chorus. "You're the phantom limb I'll carry long after the wound has healed a missing piece that shaped me. Even as I learned to feel whole without you," the crowd applauded. Some people dropped money in my open guitar case, 1s and 5s mostly, but I saw a 20 and even a 50, enough for a decent meal at the airport before my 11 p.m. flight to London. "Thank you," I managed to say. "That's all for tonight, for forever actually. I'm leaving Seattle and this amazing community. Thank you for 3 years of listening." More applause. A few people came up to shake my hand, to wish me luck, to ask where they could follow my music. I went through the motions, smiling and thanking them, all while acutely aware of Harper still standing at the edge of the crowd. She waited until everyone else had left, until it was just me, her, and Danny packing up my equipment. "Maya," her voice cracked on my name. I kept my back to her, carefully wrapping cables around my arm. "Harper, didn't expect to see you here. I didn't expect to come, but I saw your Instagram post about your last performance and I had to." "Had to what? Come torture me one more time before I leave. That's not fair." I whirled around. "Fair? You want to talk about fair? You don't get to show up crying after 2 years of nothing. No calls, no texts, no explanation beyond 'this isn't working' and 'we want different things.' You don't get to make this harder than it already is." Danny cleared his throat. "I'm gonna go get coffee. Take your time packing up." "Danny, it's fine. I'll be back in 30. He left, always the diplomat, always knowing when to give me space. Harper moved closer. She looked older, not in a bad way, just more tired, like the weight of the past 2 years had settled into the lines around her eyes. "I made a mistake," she said quietly. "The biggest mistake of my life, and I needed to tell you that before you left forever." "A mistake?" I laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call choosing your parents' approval over the person who loved you? That's not what happened." "That's exactly what happened. Your parents found out we were together. They threatened to cut you off, and you chose them. Chose the inheritance, the family business, the picture-perfect straight life they wanted for you. It was more complicated than that." "Was it?" I started breaking down my microphone stand, needing something to do with my hands. Because from where I stood, it was pretty simple. You loved me, or you said you did. But when it came down to it, when you had to choose between me and your parents' money and approval, you chose them. I was scared. Her voice broke. "Maya, I was terrified. My parents were my whole support system. My father had just had his stroke. My mother was falling apart. They told me that if I didn't end our relationship, they'd cut me out completely. No inheritance, no job at the company, no family. Everything I'd ever known, gone. And I was willing to build something new with you. We could have made it work. You were barely making rent with your music gigs. I had student loans. We were going to move into that tiny studio apartment in Capitol Hill and pretend that love would be enough to pay the bills." She wiped her eyes. "I convinced myself I was being practical, that I was making the adult choice. And were you? Was it worth it?" She laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "I've been miserable for 2 years, working at my father's company, which I hate, dating men to make my parents happy, which makes me hate myself, living in their guest house because I can't afford my own place anymore. Turns out they pay me half what they pay the men in equivalent positions. I'm sorry you're unhappy, but Harper, that doesn't fix anything. You made your choice. I know. God, I know." She stepped closer, and I could smell her perfume, the same jasmine scent she'd always worn. It hit me like a physical blow. But Maya, seeing you tonight, hearing that song, it broke something open in me. All the things I've been telling myself for 2 years just fell apart. What things? That I made the right choice. That being practical mattered more than being happy. That I could learn to love the life my parents wanted for me. She looked at me with those green eyes I'd once written sonnets about. "I can't. I've tried, and I can't. And watching you leave, knowing I'll never have another chance to tell you how sorry I am, how wrong I was, I couldn't live with that. So, what do you want from me? Forgiveness? Absolution? I want another chance." The words hung in the air between us. I stared at her, certain I'd misheard. "Excuse me? I want another chance. To be with you. To do it right this time." She spoke quickly, desperately. "I know I don't deserve it. I know I hurt you terribly. But Maya, I've never stopped loving you. Not for one single day. That's not how this works. You don't get to break my heart, disappear for 2 years, and then show up asking for another chance just because you're finally ready to be brave. I know, but I'm asking anyway." She pulled something from her pocket, a folded piece of paper, worn and creased like it had been handled many times. "I wrote you a letter, 273 letters actually, over the past 2 years. This is the last one. I was going to mail it, but then I saw you were leaving and I thought maybe I should give it to you in person. I didn't take the letter. What makes you think I want to read it? Nothing, but I'm hoping you will anyway. Because despite everything, I think you still love me too. I heard it in that song. In every song you've written since I left. Of course I still love you," I said, my voice raw. "You don't stop loving someone just because they hurt you. But love isn't enough, Harper. It wasn't enough 2 years ago when you chose your parents. It's not enough now when I'm about to get on a plane to start the life I've always wanted. What if I came with you?" "What?" "To London. What if I came with you?" She said it like it was simple, like 2 years of silence could be erased by one impulsive gesture. "You can't just... Harper, you have a job, a life, your family. I have a job I hate working for a father who pays me half what I'm worth because I'm a woman. I have no life. Every day is the same meaningless routine. And my family?" She laughed bitterly. "My family disowned me 6 months ago when they found out I was seeing a woman again. Turns out they didn't care about me being gay. They cared about me being closeted and compliant. The minute I tried to be myself, they cut me off. I felt something crack inside my chest. They cut you off? Completely. No inheritance, no job, no family events. My mother told me I was dead to her." Harper's voice shook. So I have nothing keeping me here. Nothing except the hope that maybe, possibly, you might still want me. I looked at her. Really looked at her. She'd lost weight. There were new lines around her mouth from stress or sadness or both. She wore that green sweater I'd bought her, which meant she'd kept it. Kept something of us even while pushing me away. I want to hate you, I said quietly. I've tried so hard to hate you. It would be easier. I know, but I can't. Even after everything, I can't. So does that mean? It means I don't know what it means. I picked up my guitar case. My flight leaves in 6 hours. I need to check my bags, go through security, figure out how to ship my life to another continent. I don't have time for this conversation. Then can I walk with you? Help you with your bags? I promise I won't push. I just want to be near you for a few more hours before you leave. Everything in me screamed that this was a bad idea, that letting Harper back in would only lead to more pain, that I should walk away now, board my flight, start fresh in London without the weight of our history. But I'd spent 2 years missing her, and the thought of never seeing her again, of this being our last moment together, was unbearable. Fine, I said. You can help me with my bags, but Harper, don't expect anything. This doesn't fix what happened. It doesn't mean I'm giving you another chance. I understand. We walked through the terminal in silence, my guitar on my back, her pulling my suitcase. Danny caught up with us, took one look at Harper, and gave me a meaningful glance that said, "Are you sure about this?" I shrugged. I wasn't sure about anything anymore. At the check-in counter, Harper stood beside me while I checked my bags. At security, she couldn't follow, so we stood in the pre-checkpoint area with hundreds of other travelers saying goodbye. "This is it," I said. "End of the line." "Read the letter," Harper said. "Please, even if you don't respond, even if you never want to see me again, read it." She pressed the folded paper into my hand. Our fingers touched, and the contact sent electricity through my entire body. 2 years, and she still affected me like this. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for everything. For being a coward, for choosing wrong, for not fighting harder for us. I'm sorry, too, for letting you go without a bigger fight, for writing songs about you instead of calling, for being too proud to reach out. You had nothing to be sorry for. This was all me." I looked down at the letter in my hand, then back at her face, those green eyes now filled with tears and regret, and something that looked like desperate hope. "I have to go," I said. "I know." I turned toward security, took 3 steps, then stopped. "Harper? Yes? If you're serious about London, there's a flight tomorrow night. British Airways, 7:15 p.m. It's not too late to book a ticket." Her face transformed. "Really? You'd want me there?" "I don't know what I want, but I know I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering, what if? So if you're brave enough to get on a plane, to leave everything behind the way I am, then maybe we can figure this out. I'll be on that flight. Don't make promises you can't keep." "I'm not. Maya, I swear on everything I have," which admittedly isn't much anymore. "I'll be on that flight." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly it hurt. "Prove it," I said. "Show up, and then we'll talk about second chances." I walked through security without looking back. If I looked back, I'd see her crying. And if I saw her crying, I'd run back and kiss her and forgive her, and probably miss my flight. So I kept walking, the letter burning in my pocket, my heart beating too fast, my mind screaming that I was either making the best decision of my life or the worst. I guess I'd find out tomorrow night. The flight to London was 11 hours of turbulence, both literal and emotional. I sat in 32F, a middle seat I'd gotten cheap because I'd booked last minute when the record deal came through. On my left, a businessman typed furiously on his laptop. On my right, a teenager slept with headphones blasting music I could hear from 2 feet away. And in my pocket, Harper's letter burned like a live coal. I lasted 45 minutes after takeoff before I finally pulled it out. The paper was soft from being folded and refolded, the edges worn. My name was written on the outside in Harper's distinctive handwriting, all loops and curves, each letter connecting to the next like they were holding hands. I unfolded it slowly, my hands shaking. "Dear Maya, this is the 273rd letter I've written to you. I never sent the others. They're in a box under my bed, a chronicle of 2 years of regret, longing, and slowly learning to hate myself for what I did to us. I don't know if you'll ever read this. You have every right to throw it away, to board your plane to London and never think of me again. But I need to write it anyway. Need to say all the things I should have said 2 years ago. I was a coward. That's the simple truth. When my parents found out about us, when they gave me that ultimatum, choose them or choose you, I panicked. I'd been dependent on them my whole life. Their approval, their money, their vision of who I should be. The idea of losing all that was terrifying. But you know what was more terrifying? The idea of building a life from scratch with someone I loved. Because if we failed, if we couldn't make it work, it wouldn't be circumstances or bad luck. It would be us. We would have failed. And I was too scared to take that risk. So I told myself I was being practical, adult, responsible. I convinced myself that love wasn't enough to overcome financial insecurity and family disapproval. That choosing my parents was choosing stability and safety. I was wrong about everything. The day after I ended things with you, I woke up and reached for you. You weren't there, obviously. But for those first few seconds before I fully woke, I'd forgotten. I was still living in the reality where we were together, where I woke up to your terrible morning breath and the way you hogged the covers, and the sound of you humming while making coffee. Then I remembered, and the grief was so overwhelming I couldn't breathe. That's been every morning for 2 years. Every single morning, I wake up and forget for a few seconds. Then I remember, and it destroys me all over again. My parents' approval turned out to be conditional on more than just who I dated. They wanted me to date men, yes, but they also wanted me to dress more feminine, to stop being so difficult at work, to smile more and speak less. They wanted a daughter who looked like me but acted like their ideal woman. I tried. God, Maya. I tried so hard. I dated their approved men. I wore the dresses my mother picked out. I bit my tongue in meetings when my father's colleagues said sexist things. I became a version of myself I didn't recognize, and I was miserable. Completely, utterly miserable. 6 months ago, I met someone at a company event, Rachel. She was charming and funny, and when she asked me to dinner, I said yes, without thinking. We dated for 3 weeks before my mother found out. Apparently, one of her friends saw us kissing outside a restaurant. The fallout was immediate. My father called me into his office and fired me. Not laid off, fired. Said he couldn't have that kind of person representing the company. My mother told me I was dead to her, that she had one daughter, and that daughter had disappeared, replaced by a stranger. They cut me off completely. No severance, no inheritance, no family. I had to move into a cheap apartment in Beacon Hill, take a job as a barista. Me, with an MBA and 5 years of business experience, making lattes for minimum wage. And you know what the worst part was? It wasn't the money or the job, or even losing my family. It was knowing that I'd given up you for them, that I'd traded the love of my life for people who never truly loved me at all. They loved the version of me that obeyed. The minute I stopped obeying, their love disappeared, but yours didn't. Even after I hurt you, even after 2 years of silence, I heard it in your songs. Every lyric was a reminder that what we had was real, that someone had loved me, really loved me, for exactly who I was. I broke up with Rachel after 6 weeks. She deserved someone who could love her fully, and I was still too in love with you to give anyone else a fair chance. I've been alone since then, working my barista job, living in my tiny apartment, going to therapy twice a week to deal with family trauma and internalized homophobia. My therapist asked me once what I regretted most in life. I told her, letting you go. She asked what I'd do differently if I could go back. I said everything. I'd choose you. Every single time, I'd choose you. But I can't go back. I can only go forward. And I'm trying, Maya. I'm trying to become the woman I should have been 2 years ago. The woman brave enough to choose love over approval. The woman strong enough to build a life from scratch if that's what it takes. I saw your post about leaving Seattle, about the record deal in London, and I'm so proud of you. You deserve this success. You've worked so hard, sacrificed so much. You're going to do amazing things. Part of me wanted to let you go without saying anything, to let you start fresh in London without the weight of our history, but I couldn't. I had to tell you that I was wrong, that I'm sorry, that I've never stopped loving you. I don't expect you to take me back. I don't even expect you to forgive me. But if there's any part of you that still loves me, that still wants to try, then I'm here. I'm ready. I'll follow you to London or anywhere else. I'll work whatever job I can find. I'll live in a closet-sized apartment if that's all we can afford, because I learned something over the past 2 years. Love is enough, not because it pays the bills or makes everything easy, but because it makes everything else worth enduring. With you, I could handle anything. Without you, even success feels like failure. So this is me, being brave for once in my life, telling you I love you. asking for a second chance I probably don't deserve, hoping that maybe, just maybe, you'll let me prove that I've learned from my mistakes. If you don't, I understand. You've moved on. You have an amazing opportunity ahead of you. You don't need the complication of an ex-girlfriend who broke your heart showing up and making everything messy. But if you do, if there's even the smallest chance you might want to try again, I'll be on that British Airways flight tomorrow, 7:15 p.m. I already bought a ticket, one way, because I'm not coming back. Whatever happens between us, I'm not going back to the life I had here. I'm either moving forward with you, or I'm moving forward alone. But I'm done standing still, done being paralyzed by fear, done choosing safety over love. Thank you for 3 years of happiness. Thank you for being patient with my fears and insecurities. Thank you for writing songs that kept our love alive even when I tried to bury it. And most of all, thank you for that moment at the airport, for not telling me to leave, for suggesting that flight, for giving me the smallest sliver of hope that maybe we're not completely over. I love you, Maya. I've always loved you. I'll always love you. Yours, if you'll have me, Harper. I read the letter 3 times. By the 3rd time, I was crying so hard the businessman next to me offered me tissues and asked if I was okay. I'm fine, I managed. Just complicated. Relationship troubles? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Advice from a guy who's been married 30 years? He smiled kindly. If you love them and they love you, everything else is just details. You'll figure it out. What if the timing's wrong? What if we're in different places in our lives? Then you adjust. That's what love is. Constantly adjusting to accommodate each other's growth. The only unforgivable thing is not trying. After he went back to his laptop, I pulled out my journal, the one I'd been keeping since I was 16, filled with lyrics and thoughts and observations. I turned to a fresh page and started writing. She bought a ticket. One way. She's actually going to get on that plane. I don't know if I can do this. If I can trust her again after she broke me so completely. 2 years, and I'm still not whole. Still writing songs about phantom limbs and missing pieces. But what if he's right? What if the only unforgivable thing is not trying? She says, love is enough. 2 years ago, I would have agreed. Now I'm not sure, but maybe I'm willing to find out. Maybe. I must have fallen asleep eventually, because I woke to the flight attendant announcing our descent into Heathrow. My neck ached from sleeping at a weird angle, and Harper's letter was still clutched in my hand, wrinkled from my grip. London. I was actually here, starting over in a city where nobody knew me, where I could be anyone I wanted to be. The question was, did I want to be someone with Harper, or someone without her? I had 24 hours to decide. London in November was exactly as advertised. Gray, drizzly, and somehow charming despite the weather. Or maybe I was just delirious from jet lag and emotional exhaustion. The record label had arranged a flat for me in Camden Town, a tiny 1-bedroom above a vintage shop, with creaky floors and a view of the canal. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The first place I'd lived alone since Harper and I had split. That first day passed in a blur of unpacking, fighting off sleep, and trying not to check the time every 5 minutes. Harper's flight didn't arrive until 7:15 p.m., which meant she wouldn't land until 7:15 a.m. tomorrow, London time, a full 24 hours away, if she actually got on the plane. I tried not to think about that possibility, that she'd gotten cold feet, that this had all been a dramatic airport goodbye, that I'd spend tomorrow waiting for someone who never intended to come. My phone rang around noon. Danny, calling from Seattle where it was 4 a.m. Did you land safely? Yeah, flat's nice. Camden's cool. I'm exhausted. And what? Did Harper get on that flight? Is she coming? I don't know. Her flight's not until tonight, Seattle time. But you gave her your address, right? Your phone number works internationally. I didn't give her my address. I was too, I don't know, scared, cautious. Maya, Danny's voice was exasperated. You told her to get on a plane to London, but didn't tell her how to find you once she got here. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was processing. I said there was a flight. I didn't think through the logistics. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to text her your address, right now. So when she lands, she knows where to find you. What if she doesn't come? What if I text her and she just doesn't respond? Then you'll know. Better than spending the rest of your life wondering. He was right, obviously. I hung up and stared at my phone for 10 minutes before finally typing, if you're actually on that plane, Flat 3B, 47 Camden High Street, London NW1 7JE. Flight lands at 7:15 a.m. I'll be here. I hit send before I could overthink it. Then I waited, and waited, and waited. No response. By 7 p.m. Seattle time, 3 a.m. London time, when her flight should have been boarding, I still had nothing. No text, no call, no confirmation that she'd seen my message. I tried to sleep but couldn't. At 7:15 p.m. Seattle time, I lay in my new bed in my new flat in my new city, wondering if Harper was on a plane over the Atlantic or if she was in her apartment in Seattle, having decided that showing up at the airport had been enough closure. The next morning, I woke at 6 a.m., couldn't sleep longer despite the exhaustion. I showered, made terrible instant coffee, and tried to distract myself with unpacking. But every few minutes, I found myself checking my phone, checking the time, calculating how long until her flight landed. 7:15 a.m. came and went, landing, then 8:15 a.m., through customs, then 9:15 a.m., enough time to get through baggage claim and take the tube into the city. At 10 a.m., there was a knock on my door. My heart stopped. It could be the landlord, could be a neighbor, could be anyone, but I knew. Somehow, I knew. I opened the door. Harper stood there, soaking wet from the rain, pulling a battered suitcase, wearing that same green sweater and a terrified expression. "Hi," she said. "I'm here. I actually came." I stared at her, unable to form words. She'd actually done it, actually gotten on a plane, left everything behind, flown across an ocean on the chance that I might give her another chance. "Can I?" She gestured inside. "Can I come in? I'm kind of drowning out here." I stepped back, letting her in. She wheeled her suitcase into my tiny entryway, dripping water onto the hardwood floor. We stood there, 3 feet apart, the weight of 2 years, and an ocean between us. "You came," I finally said. "I told you I would. People say a lot of things, doesn't mean they do them. I'm not people, I'm me, and I meant it." She pushed wet hair out of her face. "Maya, I sold everything I owned, gave away my furniture, broke my lease, withdrew all my savings. I have $2,000, 1 suitcase, and no plan beyond finding you." "That's insane." "Yeah, it is." She smiled, a real smile, the kind I remembered from better days. "But you taught me something when you agreed to move here for your music. Sometimes you have to take insane risks for the things that matter. Music is my career. I'm what? You're a person who hurt me, who I'm not sure I can trust not to hurt me again. Then let me prove it. However long it takes, months, years, whatever, let me prove that I've changed, that I'm done being a coward." She took a step closer. "Please, Maya, I'm not asking you to trust me immediately. I'm asking for the chance to earn your trust back." I wanted to say yes. God, I wanted to say yes so badly. But 2 years of pain and songs written in the dark and learning to live without her made me cautious. "Where are you staying?" She looked confused by the question. I don't know. I figured I'd find a hostel or something. "With $2,000? In London? That'll last you maybe a month. Then I'll find a job. I've been working as a barista. I can do it here too. Do you have a work visa?" Her face fell. "I didn't think about that." "Of course you didn't. You just jumped on a plane without planning anything." I ran my hands through my hair. "Harper, you can't just show up in a foreign country with no plan, no visa, no place to stay." "I know. I'm an idiot. I panicked. You were leaving and I needed to prove I was serious and I didn't think it through." She looked like she might cry. "I'm sorry. I should have planned better. I just didn't want to miss my chance." I looked at her, soaking wet, exhausted from a red-eye flight, scared and vulnerable, and completely at my mercy. 2 years ago, she'd had all the power. She'd been the one with family money and a stable job and the ability to walk away. Now the roles were reversed. She had nothing, and I had everything. I could send her away, tell her this was too much, too fast, too complicated. She'd have to figure it out on her own, find a flight back, start over in Seattle, live with the consequences of her impulsive decision. Or I could let her in, literally and figuratively, give her the chance she was begging for. "You can stay here," I heard myself say. "Temporarily, just until you figure things out." The couch pulls out into a bed. "Maya, I don't want to impose. You already imposed by showing up without a plan. But I'm not sending you back to Seattle, and I'm not letting you sleep on the street. So you stay here, on the couch, while you figure out your next steps. And us? There is no us right now. There's me, adjusting to a new city and a new job. And there's you, figuring out how to survive in London without a work visa or savings. That's it. She nodded, trying to hide her disappointment. Okay, that's fair. Thank you for not sending me away. Don't thank me yet. My couch is uncomfortable and this flat is tiny and I'm not easy to live with when I'm stressed. I don't care. I'll take whatever you're willing to give. I showed her where the towels were, where she could put her things, how the ancient heater worked. Then I left her to shower and change while I escaped to the kitchen, my hands shaking as I made more terrible instant coffee. She'd actually come. Harper had actually gotten on a plane and followed me to London with no plan and no safety net. The same woman who'd chosen security over love 2 years ago had just gambled everything on the possibility that I might forgive her. And now she was in my shower, and I had no idea what the hell I was supposed to do next. My phone buzzed. A text from the record label. Studio session tomorrow at 10 a.m. Be ready to play us your new material. This is your audition. Right, my audition. The whole reason I was here. I couldn't let Harper's arrival derail the opportunity I'd worked for my entire life. I texted back, I'll be there. Then I looked at the bathroom door, where I could hear the shower running, and Harper humming, the same tune she always hummed when she was nervous. Tomorrow I'd focus on my music, on proving I deserved this shot, on being professional and prepared and everything a new artist should be. But tonight, I had to figure out how to share a tiny flat with the woman who broke my heart, and somehow, impossibly, wanted to put it back together, one day at a time. That's all I could handle, one day at a time. The studio session was a disaster. Not because of my playing, that was fine. Not because of my songs, they'd loved those. But because I couldn't focus. Because every time I tried to pour myself into the music, I kept thinking about Harper sleeping on my couch, Harper job hunting, Harper trying to figure out visa requirements while living on dwindling savings, Harper being my responsibility now whether I wanted that or not. Maya, let's take 5, said James, the producer. He was in his 50s, with kind eyes and decades of experience written in the gray at his temples. You're technically perfect, but emotionally absent. What's going on? I set down my guitar. Personal stuff. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Personal stuff makes the best music. But you need to channel it, not run from it. He leaned forward. What's the story? Breakup? New love? Family drama? Ex-girlfriend showed up in London, unannounced. She's currently sleeping on my couch. James whistled. That's a song right there. Tell me about her. So I did. Not everything. Not the custody battle with myself over whether to forgive her, but enough. The breakup 2 years ago. The airport reunion. Her impulsive flight to London. She gave up everything for a chance you might take her back. James shook his head. That's either the most romantic thing I've ever heard, or the most foolish. Both, probably. You still love her? Unfortunately. Then what's the problem? Trust. She broke it. I don't know if it can be fixed. James was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then, my wife and I separated 10 years ago. She had an affair, destroyed me. I moved out, filed papers, told everyone we were done. And what happened? She fought for me, showed up at my new apartment every day for 6 months, didn't push, didn't make demands, just proved, day after day, that she was different, that she'd learned, that she was worth the risk of trusting again. He smiled. Been back together 9 years now, happier than we were before. So you're saying I should give Harper a chance? I'm saying write about it. Whatever you decide, write about it. Your best work will come from this pain and confusion and hope. He stood up. Let's call it for today. Come back Friday with something new, something real, something that bleeds. I walked home through Camden Market, barely seeing the vintage stalls and street food vendors. My mind was churning, trying to process everything. The studio session, James's story, the reality that Harper was living in my flat and I had no idea how to handle it. When I got home, the flat smelled like actual food, not the takeout I'd been surviving on, but real cooking. Harper was in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove, wearing my old band t-shirt and looking terrifyingly domestic. Hey, she said when she heard me. I made dinner. Hope that's okay. I was going stir-crazy just sitting around all day. Where did you get groceries? There's a Sainsbury's down the street. I used some of my remaining money. Consider it rent. She ladled soup into bowls. It's nothing fancy, just vegetable soup and bread, but it's hot and it's food. We sat at my tiny kitchen table, eating in silence. The soup was good, better than anything I'd made in months. Harper had always been the cook in our relationship. I'd been the one who burned water and ordered pizza. "How was your studio session?" she finally asked. "Terrible. I couldn't focus. Because of me. Because of a lot of things. New city, new job, new pressure. And yes, you showing up didn't help." She flinched. "I'm sorry. I should have thought this through better." "You should have, but you didn't. So now we both have to deal with the consequences." "Maya, I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to be honest. Harper, you being here complicates everything. My producer wants me to write songs that bleed. How am I supposed to do that when the source of all my best material is making me soup in my kitchen? So write about this, about how confusing it is, about wanting to forgive me but being scared." She met my eyes. "Use me. Use this situation. Turn it into something beautiful. It's not that simple. Why not? Because I struggle to find the words. Because if I write about you, about us, I have to actually process my feelings. I have to decide if I'm willing to try again. And Harper, I don't know if I am. Then don't decide. Just write. Let the music tell you how you feel." After dinner, I went into my bedroom, the only private space in the flat, and pulled out my guitar. Harper had been right about one thing. I needed to write. Needed to pour all this confusion and anger and hope and fear into something productive. The melody came first, minor key, melancholic, but with hints of major chords breaking through, like sadness trying to become hope, like winter trying to become spring. Then the lyrics. "You showed up soaking wet, with one suitcase and regret, said you'd changed, said you'd learned all the lessons you'd never earned, and I want to believe you want to trust that you've grown, but the girl you left crying is still here, still alone. So prove it, prove it, show me you've changed, prove it, that love's not just a game. You gambled everything on a chance I might forgive, but forgiveness isn't given. It's earned by how you live. I played it through 3 times, refining the bridge, adjusting the tempo. It wasn't finished, but it was real, raw, everything James had asked for. When I emerged from my bedroom 2 hours later, Harper was asleep on the couch, curled up under the thin blanket I'd given her. She looked younger in sleep, more like the girl I'd fallen for 6 years ago, before complications and fear and her parents' disapproval. I stood there watching her breathe, my guitar still in my hand, and felt something crack open in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe the possibility of it, the acknowledgement that she'd actually shown up, that she was trying. It wasn't enough yet, but it was something. Over the next 2 weeks, we fell into an uneasy routine. I'd work on music during the day, writing, recording rough demos, meeting with the label. Harper would job hunt, research visa options, and keep the flat running. She cooked, she cleaned, she gave me space when I needed it, and conversation when I didn't want to be alone. She never pushed, never demanded to know if I'd forgiven her or if we had a future. She just existed in my space, proving day by day that she could be reliable, present, the partner she should have been 2 years ago. "I got a job," she told me one night over dinner. "Under the table, cash only. Dishwasher at a restaurant in Soho. It's not glamorous, but it's something. How much does it pay? Enough to cover groceries and contribute to rent. I know I said I'd stay until I figured things out, but I don't want to be a burden." "You're not a burden." The words surprised me, but they were true. Having Harper there had been nice. Coming home to food and conversation, not being completely alone in a foreign city. "You can stay as long as you need." "Really? Really? But Harper, we need to talk about expectations." "Okay, this couch arrangement, it's temporary, right? You're not planning to live on my couch forever?" "God, no. I'm saving up for a room in a flat share. Give me a couple months and I'll be out of your hair." "And then what? We're just friends who occasionally see each other?" She looked at me with those green eyes that still made my stomach flip. "That's up to you. I came here hoping for a second chance at us, but if all you can give me is friendship, I'll take it. I'll take whatever keeps you in my life. What if I don't know what I want yet? Then I'll wait, however long it takes." 2 weeks became a month. A month became 6 weeks. Christmas approached, and London transformed into something magical. Lights strung across every street, markets selling mulled wine and roasted chestnuts, carolers in Trafalgar Square. Harper and I walked through Winter Wonderland in Hyde Park, drinking hot chocolate and watching people skate on the outdoor rink. It felt like a date, but wasn't. Like we were together, but weren't. "I miss home," Harper admitted as we walked. Not Seattle necessarily, but the idea of home, of belonging somewhere. "Do you belong here?" I don't know yet. I belong wherever you are, but I don't know if you want me to belong. Harper, it's okay. I know I can't force this. Can't force you to trust me again. She turned to face me. But Maya, I need you to know something. Whether we get back together or not, coming here was the right choice. Being near you, even just as your roommate or friend, is better than being in Seattle without you. That's not healthy. Probably not. But it's true. We walked in silence for a while, the lights reflected in her eyes, her hand accidentally brushing mine. Every time we touched, even accidentally, I felt electricity. 2 years and an ocean, and she still affected me like this. I'm scared, I admitted, of trying again, of getting hurt again. I know, I'm scared too. Scared that I've already lost you forever. That showing up here was too little, too late. It's not too late. The words came out before I could stop them. But it's not automatic either. You can't just show up and expect everything to be okay. I don't expect that. I just hope that maybe, someday, you'll be ready to try. On Christmas Eve, the label threw a party for their artists. I brought Harper as my +1, introducing her as my friend. But the way James looked at us, the way he smiled knowingly, told me he wasn't fooled. That's the ex? He asked when Harper went to get drinks. Yeah, you're going to take her back, aren't you? I don't know. Yes, you do. You're just scared. But Maya, fear is a terrible reason not to take a chance on love. Maybe he was right. Maybe I did know. Maybe I'd known since that moment at the airport when I told her about the flight. Harper returned with champagne, and we toasted with the other artists, people from all over the world, chasing their dreams in this city that swallowed some whole and lifted others up. To new beginnings, someone said. To second chances, Harper whispered, her eyes on mine. To figuring it out as we go, I added. That night, walking home through the quiet streets, snow beginning to fall, Harper reached for my hand, not presumptuous, just offered. A question, not a demand. I took it. We walked the rest of the way hand in hand, not talking, just being. And when we got back to the flat, when she headed for the couch and I headed for my bedroom, I stopped. Harper? Yeah? We should talk, really talk, about what this is, about what we want it to be. Okay? When? After Christmas. After the holiday stress is over. We'll sit down and actually hash this out. I'd like that. But we didn't have to wait until after Christmas. Because that night, lying in my bed alone, I realized I'd already made my decision. Had probably made it the moment I told her about the flight. I loved her. Still, despite everything, maybe because of everything, the question wasn't whether to try again. It was how to try in a way that was healthy and sustainable and wouldn't destroy us both if it failed. I fell asleep thinking about second chances, and woke up knowing exactly what I wanted to say. Maya Santos learned that second chances aren't about erasing the past. They're about incorporating it into a stronger future. Harper learned that choosing love requires daily courage, not one grand gesture. And together, they built something new from the ruins of what came before. A relationship based not on perfection, but on commitment, growth, and the willingness to keep trying even when it's hard. The airport where it ended became the airport where it began again. And that last song, the one Maya played before leaving Seattle, became the first song of a new chapter neither of them saw coming. Sometimes the best stories don't have tidy endings. They have new beginnings that acknowledge the pain of the past, while choosing hope for the future. And for Maya and Harper, that was more than enough.